Morning. Until 15 minutes or no worry? Okay. I've been known to go on for hours. As I was introduced, my name's David, and I want to thank the many people that have made it possible for me to be here. There are people that aren't here that have shaped my life and given me insights and given me opportunities to learn, both those that have given me the deepest and darkest struggles. As a Native American shaman once said, love your petty tyrants. And then those that have been very loving and have also taught me how to love. And I want to thank Mary for introducing me to this wonderful center, and Peggy for coordinating, making it all happen. So I chose the subject of unity and relationship. I think I chose it because it's very interesting to me. And I also find it very challenging because I live in a world that seems to be defined by relationships. There's this and there's that, there's you and there's me. There's me and there's me. And through that structure of relationships comes much judgment, comes much decision making. But then as I've walked this path, the path of the heart, as I like to call it, I find unity where most of those structures can fall apart and they don't matter anymore. And in that unity, I can learn to trust. I can trust that what I need, I will receive. I can trust that I'll be cared for, that I'll be placed, again, just where I need to be. So I find this to be at the core of who I am, because I am in this body, I am a form, I live in this world, and at the same time, there's this connection. And I tend to like the relationships, some of them that is, some of them I don't. I choose not to like them. And sometimes I can feel the unity, but I move in between, back and forth. So therein lies the dance. So today my goal is to just spark a bit of awareness, really to offer something that each of you can hopefully connect to. To come up here and talk is a little bit unsettling because I sometimes feel like I'll stall out and never know what to say. So I chose to write up a bunch of notes here, which I'm better off if I just sort of set them aside. But that's that part of me that wants to be able to control and manage and know what's going to happen. The part that really works, though, the part that I can really connect to, is when I can share a part of myself spontaneously and let you see a bit of who I am. And through that, I can probably learn a little bit of who you are. I grew up in a family. It was a loving family as I look at it. I was given many opportunities, many privileges. But I grew up believing it wasn't safe to talk, it wasn't safe to tell, it wasn't safe to feel, and it wasn't safe to trust. And I struggled with that because there was so much judgment in our family. And as a child growing up, when I heard my adults and other people using judgmental kind of phrases, oh, this looks good and that looks bad, it seemed like it was just going to be a matter of time until that judgment was going to turn on me. And I was going to be the one that was looked at as being bad. I was going to be the one that was going to be rejected. And this was my perception. That's all I had. And to survive, I learned that this judgment required answers. And those answers created the structure. It created safety. And when there's judgments, there's expectations. And through those expectations, I form my relationships. So I would expect things from others, and I'd assume they expected things from me. And when I needed answers, of course, the best friend of answers is logic, and that takes me directly into what I would call my intellect, my intellectual mind. So my intellect became my tool. It became the guide to my building of structures. It became my requirement to know what was going to happen, or whether a certain set of behaviors on my part was going to lead to my being loved or rejected. So logic became my higher power. Intellect became my tool. And through that, I conformed to your expectation. And it worked really well. It really did. It worked right up to that point at which it quit working. And then everything collapsed. My beliefs no longer supported what was happening to me. My laws of structure, no matter how hard I tried, could no longer control the outcome. And I was forced to look for something different. Now, the one part of myself that I had never understood were my feelings. Because as I mentioned before, my learning, my upbringing, my survival tool was to not trust my feelings. My feelings couldn't be relied upon. And if I wasn't going to allow my feelings to inform my perception, all that I'd be left with was my intellect. The trouble that I had, and I didn't realize this until having done quite a bit of work, but my intellect was really motivated by fear. Fear is what was really driving my behavior. I had done some personal work, and if somebody had asked me back then, were you a fearful person? I'd say, heck no. Let me show you all the things I've done. But yet I was motivated by fear. I didn't have the ability to trust. My intellect was incapable of knowing faith. I had a feeling that there was something out there I could trust. I had a feeling that I could have faith, but it didn't make any sense. How could I rely on something I couldn't see, I couldn't feel, I couldn't trust? As a matter of fact, faith, trusting something that I couldn't see, feel, or couldn't see or touch, would destroy my intellect, would break that structure. So as a result of that, I was unable to really accept anything that was beyond my ability to perceive. So now, I found part of the problem. I needed to figure a way to perceive that didn't require my intellect. And therein lies the power of grace. I can't exactly tell you what specific events transpired and how they all unfolded themselves. But through the grace of God, I found my heart. I found that it was safe to feel, and that it was safe to trust my feelings. And within that heart, I find my unity. Within my heart, I can find my unity with each of you. Because my heart doesn't judge. Oh, I can live without judgment. Interesting idea. It's hard. It's hard to not judge because I've been so wired to judge. But it can be done. And when I could let go of my judgments, I could begin to forgive, because those harms or things that happened to me happened out of some expectation, something about myself that maybe put me above you or put me into a position where I had been harmed. The heart can accept all. The heart is quiet. The heart knows our worth, and the heart knows the truth. It's through our heart that our feelings can be interpreted and turn into our perception. Our heart connects me to my God. And it's through the heart that I can find my truth. The irony is, this is a journey of no distance. It's simple, but highly irrational. And it's feared by the intellect. Now again, remember, this intellect of mine at least uses fear to control and to keep its importance. But the interesting thing I find is that the intellect can very quickly adapt. It can see and experience the fact that by living a life or walking the path of the heart, things get easier. There's no longer a requirement to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. We can just be in the present moment, moment to moment, accepting what's coming to us and responding in a proper and healthy way. And remember, it's the intellect and that fear that wants to hold us in relationship. It wants to separate us and prevent us from becoming one. So it takes a practice, at least that's my experience. It's a practice to open up our hearts and to be willing to feel through our heart, to be willing to set aside that which we think we know, and to be open to a new experience. It's a practice to accept ourselves as we are, to accept our feelings, to accept sadness as that's okay. It's okay to feel sad. To accept happiness. It's okay to feel happy. The heart allows us to see ourselves through each other. What I need, I see through you. So the path of the heart is simple. And as I said, highly irrational. There's some words that I've found very useful as a practice to help ground me and keep me in my heart. Simple words when offered to the divine, to our loving God. The simple words of I love you. I apologize. Even if we've done no harm. We're obviously feeling something. I apologize. Please forgive me. And thank you. Those words, when offered through our heart, can transform our lives and our relationships. It can give us the courage to accept and release our relationships. And as our relationships are healed, the edges disappear. and we become one with each other, one with love. And what is love but unity? For love resists nothing. It accepts everything. It allows everything. And love extends love. So we follow the path of the heart. It's a way of living beyond the intellect. It's a way of living beyond the intellect. But we can simply choose the voice for love, follow our inspiration, and be true to thine own self. And in the end, we find that this is nothing more than our chosen experience. Because as T.S. Eliot once said, we shall not cease from exploration, and in the end of all our exploring, we will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So I'd like to just close with this simple little prayer. Heavenly Father, Mother, friend, beloved God, may thine love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion, and may I be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Paramahansa Yogananda.